I live in an old house just outside of Portland, Oregon. It's got that classic Pacific Northwest charm, lots of wood, big windows, and a constant, faint smell of damp earth and pine. And a hallway, a long one that connects the living room to my bedroom at the very back of the house. For the first few months, everything was normal, but then something subtle started to change. It began with a feeling. You know that sense you get when you've been walking for a while and you should be at your destination, but you're not. That's what started happening every night when I'd walk to my bedroom. At first I brushed it off. I was probably just tired. Long days at work, not enough sleep. My perception was skewed, but then it happened again the next night, and the night after that. The walk felt longer, not by much, just a fraction, maybe one extra step. It was just enough to make me pause before reaching my door, feeling a little disoriented. I started paying closer attention. The next evening, before heading to bed, I stood at the entrance of the hallway and just looked. It seemed normal. Same peeling paint on the baseboards, same flickering overhead light that I kept meaning to fix. I took a deep breath and started walking. I counted my steps, 34, exactly what it had been yesterday. But the feeling was still there, stronger this time. It wasn't just the length. The walls felt closer, the air seemed thicker, heavier. The dim light from the single bulb seemed to struggle to reach the far end, casting long, distorted shadows that danced just at the edge of my vision. It was unnerving. I tried to rationalize it. It's an old house. It settles. Maybe the humidity was making the wood swell. Maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me in the low light. But the logical part of my brain was being drowned out by a primal, growing unease. The next morning I bought a tape measure. I waited until the sun was streaming through the windows, chasing away all the shadows. I measured the hallway from the edge of the living room carpet to the frame of my bedroom door. 40 feet, 7 inches. I wrote it down on a sticky note and stuck it to the fridge. Then I measured the width, 38 inches, also noted down. All day I felt a sense of relief. See, it was all in my head. Numbers don't lie. That night, the feeling of dread returned as soon as I approached the hallway. It looked darker than ever before. The single light bulb seemed to be putting out less of a glow, more of a weak, sickly yellow haze. I flicked the switch off and on. It flickered violently and then settled back into its dim state. Fine. I started my walk, my heart starting to pound a little faster. The air was cold, and the familiar creaks of the floorboards under my feet sounded different, deeper, more hollow. It definitely felt longer. 2, maybe 3 extra steps this time. And the walls, I could have sworn, if I stretched out my arms, I could touch both sides at once. I couldn't have done that before. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking slightly, and turned on the flashlight. The bright beam cut through the gloom, but it didn't make me feel any better. The light didn't seem to travel as far as it should. It was being swallowed by the darkness at the end of the hall. I finally reached my bedroom, my hand closing around the cold brass doorknob, with a sense of desperate relief. I practically fell into my room and slammed the door shut. I didn't sleep well. The next day I called a friend, an architect. I tried to explain it to him, feeling ridiculous as the words came out of my mouth. My hallway. I think it's changing at night. He was nice about it, listened patiently. He suggested it could be vertigo, or stress. He said old houses can play tricks on your mind, that the sounds and shadows can fuel your imagination. He told me to get more sleep. I felt foolish, but his calm, rational explanation didn't quiet the fear. That evening I called the non-emergency police line. I told them I thought someone might have been tampering with my house, maybe trying to scare me. I left out the part about the hallway growing. 2 officers came by. They were polite but skeptical. They walked the hallway, flashlights sweeping over the walls and floor. They took out their own tape measure. 40 feet 7 inches long, 38 inches wide. Exactly what I had measured. They looked at me with a mixture of pity and professional patience. "Everything seems to be in order here, sir," one of them said. "No signs of forced entry, no structural anomalies we can see." They suggested I install a carbon monoxide detector, just in case. They left and I was alone again, with my perfectly normal 40-foot 7-inch hallway. But I knew what would happen when the sun went down. This was the 4th night. The dread was a physical weight in my stomach. I considered sleeping on the couch, but I couldn't. It felt like giving in, like letting the house win. I had to know. I had to face it. Armed with my tape measure and my phone's flashlight, I stood at the entrance to the hall. It was a gaping maw of darkness. The light bulb had finally given up. It was completely out. The only light was the faint blue glow from the TV in the living room behind me. I took a breath and stepped in. The cold was immediate. My own breathing sounded loud, echoing in the confined space. I walked slowly, deliberately, my hand brushing against the wall. It felt rough, like unfinished plaster. not the smooth, painted surface I knew was there. I kept walking. The 34 steps came and went. Then 35, 36, 40, I was still walking. The living room behind me seemed a million miles away. The darkness ahead was absolute. My phone's flashlight beam was pathetic, a tiny circle of light in an ocean of black. It hit the wall in front of me, but it didn't illuminate a door. There was no door, just a blank wall. Panic seized me. I spun around, shining the light back the way I came. The hallway stretched on, seemingly endless. I turned back toward where my door should be. It wasn't there. No frame, no doorknob, just a seamless continuation of the wall. My bedroom was gone. My hand flew to the wall, patting it frantically. It was solid, cold and solid. I started yelling, my voice cracking, swallowed by the oppressive silence of the hall. I ran back toward the living room, my feet pounding on the floorboards, the sound echoing strangely. I burst out of the hallway, stumbling into the familiar light of the living room, gasping for air. I spun around and looked back. There it was, the hallway. At the very end, dimly visible, was the outline of my bedroom door. I stood there, shaking, for what felt like an hour. I didn't sleep on the couch. I slept in my car. The next morning I called a contractor, a structural engineer. I explained the situation, trying to sound as sane as possible. He came over that afternoon. He brought laser measuring tools, levels, all sorts of high-tech gear. He spent hours examining the house, tapping on walls, checking the foundation. His conclusion: the house was old but structurally sound. He measured the hallway 40 feet, 7 inches, 38 inches wide. He found nothing wrong. He charged me $300 for the consultation and left, shaking his head. I've been sleeping on the couch for a week now. I can't bring myself to walk down that hallway after dark. During the day, it's just a hallway. I can walk to my bedroom, get my clothes, pretend everything is fine. But every night, as the sun sets, I watch it from the safety of the living room. And I can't shake the feeling that it's watching me back, waiting. My bedroom door is there in the daylight,